But the Ware Workhouse is a really, really imposing building. It's now called the Octagon. Because it's got 4 buildings and there are 8 sides, you see. So they radiate out from a central supervisory hub. It was built, like I said, in 1840, and the aim was to humiliate the poor, basically, reform their moral character, stop them being malingerers, and instill them with cleanliness and moral fibre and discipline. So on admission, they'd be met by the master of the warehouse and the matron, and they were classified, as was said in that newspaper report. Segregation was key. So at the outset, this segregation would have occurred in the boardroom at the front. That's where the staff were there. That was the administrative block to the workhouse, if you like. And behind the workhouse was a sanatorium where the elderly ill would be in the infirm. If you look at the census and the records of the workhouse, you'll see what sort of backgrounds people came from. They were the poor, the destitute, a celebrity a famous person who actually had a really tough childhood was Charlie Chaplin, and he spent 2 periods in the workhouse before leaving to join an actors group and the theatres, and before he moved off to America. And he used his experience of having been a pauper in his character Charlie Chaplin. But in his memoirs he talks about the severity of the workhouse and how tough it was. So like I said, on arrival, people were segregated. Women from men, men from women. The children were taken away and placed in a little cottage in Cribb Street, and they were made to strip their clothes, and these clothes were fumigated. Often people in the workhouse had their head shaved, particularly if there was a nits outbreak or hair lice or anything like that. Their hair was all cut off. On arrival, they had to have a cold bath and wash themselves thoroughly. Then they were made to put on a uniform. It was one of the most uncomfortable uniforms ever. It was made of very coarse and hard-wearing materials that were designed to last, you see, and never wear out. So what did they used to do in the workhouse? Well, they worked. And they worked 10 or 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And the tasks were particularly tedious. They would be picking through old ropes and pulling out the materials that were reused as hemp. They would be breaking rocks, and these rocks were used as hardcore on the roads. They were bashing and grinding up bones into powder as fertiliser, and there often were laundry work. There would be laundry, they would be pressing clothes and cleaning laundry by hand and ironing. And they were set targets, you see, so they had to grind up so many bones, or they had to break so many rocks into powder, and if they didn't achieve their targets, their work targets, they were punished. And how they were punished was they were given restricted diets. They were given less food. You're not having a loaf of bread today. You're not having any potatoes. And much of the time, the food was dire. It was watered down porridge, commonly known as gruel, and it was horrible. And we know that from the Charles Dickens story, when the young man asked for more, and the gruel was awful. The living conditions were harsh. They lived in dormitories, often 70 to a room. The beds were hard, bits of wood on the floor. And they were classified again, good and bad workers. those who are exceptionally good were given the opportunity to have jobs when they became available in the local community. They were given openings so there was a way out, but it was quite rare. One of the most horrible things that happened was these poor mums having children out of wedlock. To become pregnant out of wedlock was really frowned upon and treated, you were punished for that. So we can see that there were people with on the lists, they were labelled as imbeciles. In 1939, the home in Barnet, the workhouse in Barnet, was shut down, which meant that over 200 residents sent away. So there was about 400 or 500 inmates in the workhouse then. The Barnet people were kept separately, and it was known as the Barnet, and it's where Highfield Lodge is now. It was known as Deerfields. In years to come, it became a bit of a doss house where people drifted in and out, and a lot of people that were walking tramps in those days used to stay there. So what became of the warehouse? The hospital at the back, after the workhouse closed down, the hospital at the back carried on, and it became a hospital for the elderly. What's become of the workhouse, it was derelict for a number of years, but it's now been converted into luxury flats, and they're really nice actually. They're 1 and 2 bedrooms, they've got character, it's nice and quiet there. Residents have got carports where they've got their own parking space, which a lot of local residents in the local streets nearby don't have. And these flats sell for quite a good price. They sell for about 330,000. Living there, they've got a nice community. They sometimes sit outside on tables and chairs in these nice quiet gardens. There's no passing traffic. It's a little oasis of quietness and calmness in Ware. On a few of the walls you can see etchings where people, put etched out with a nail or something. So they've written something on the wall in the workhouse days, but that's all been, it's all a white building now. Quite impressive, and of course it's a listed building. Anyway, that's it, all about the Ware Workhouse. I hope you've really enjoyed this. Do look in on future videos, and please do subscribe. All the best. Bye bye.